Well, I'm really excited. I spent all day Sunday watching this amazing marathon of extraordinary speakers and thinkers talking about consciousness as it relates to UAPs, UFOs, disclosure, all those things that we're fascinated with. And you are looking at the man who makes it all happen. This is Tim Spenny. He is the co-founder of UAPedia and the producer of the recent UAPCon. Now, I know a lot of you watched it on Sunday because we promoted it, and I saw that a lot of you were commenting on it. But for those of you who missed it, we're going to talk a little bit about it, and we're going to give you the ways that you can go back and watch and that you can become part of this incredible movement. I've been blessed to be following Tim kind of since they started. Let's start, Tim, with tell us about UAPedia, uh, how it began and what it has become.
Yeah, thanks so much, Scott, and thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate your support and promoting our event and the work that we're doing at UAPedia. Look, UAPedia is uh, a trusted source of knowledge for the phenomenon. When we looked around, we saw a bunch of fragmented and dispersed content and data and information about the phenomenon all across the web. And if we went to like some of these sources like X or Twitter, or we went even to Wikipedia, we would see, disinformation or vandalism on Wikipedia and things that just weren't true. And so we thought, why don't we create this hub? And so what we've worked on for the last 6 months, we started this and launched it at the Soul Symposium that was held in Italy in November of 2025 is when we launched. We've created one of the largest repositories of knowledge around the phenomenon. It's basically a modern online encyclopedia that people can go to. They can look through our biographies, our movie reviews, our case studies, our dossiers, our investigative reports, and really, walk through the claims, walk through witness accounts, walk through what is being said. And we've created a taxonomy so that we can validate these claims and information that are out there. So there's some discernment in the work that we're doing. So yeah, it's been really fun putting this together. It's been a heck of a lot of work. But right now we have over 300 articles that have been read 250,000 times since we've launched. We're getting, roughly around 20 or 30,000 people a week coming to the website. So there's obviously this need for trusted information, and we're really trying to fill that within the ecosystem.
It's amazing what you've created. And since you're talking about it right off the bat, I'm going to actually take people there so we can take a look at it. It is uapedia.ai, uapedia.ai. As we kind of tool around, I mean, right off the bat, make sure that you join, and they've put all this together. And it's remarkable how many articles, stories. I remember hearing about Bob Lazar way back when I was producing a national broadcast television show on UFOs called The Paranormal Borderline. And we did a story on Bob Lazar. He goes way back. So it's uapedia.ai, making mountains of mashed potatoes. There's a nice callback to Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, that's actually a point of view article that I wrote that speaks to why we do this. Why are we making mountains out of mashed potatoes? So it goes through, I don't know about some of your viewers, but this topic is so fascinating and so complex. You start, scratching at it a little bit, and then you end up, spending a bunch of time on YouTube or spending a bunch of time on our website looking through articles and things because it's just so fascinating. So why do we do this? So we wrote a perspective on that. And my co-founder, Eduardo, wrote a perspective on, why the Arrow disclosure was so limited and the work that they were doing was not very effective. So there's a bunch of opinion pieces and perspectives that we have on the website as well.
One of the things I'm going to jump to your UAPCon that just happened on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
just to reference One of the things I really enjoyed was the conversation about high weirdness
Hmm.
and the extraordinary strangeness that goes
Hmm.
along with a lot of people's personal encounters. You know,
Right.
this fascinating fellow who's written a book about the relationship between owls and UFOs. I had never heard that one before. And then,
Oh, yeah.
oh my God. And then I think his name was Mike.
Yeah,
Uh,
Mike Cleland is yeah, he's written a number of books on the intersection of owls and the phenomenon. And during the session at UAPCon, he talked about receiving, one, two, maybe six or seven emails a day
a
from
day,
people
right.
talking. Yeah, he has just a giant, and so a database, and so he takes those stories and creates, and writes books about this intersection. So it's a fascinating aspect, yeah, of the phenomenon because there's so much high strangeness. It's not just UFOs; it's all types of paranormal activity, precognitive activity. You see apparitions. There's all types of high strangeness with cryptids. It goes on and on with what can happen ancillary to just straight UFOs. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I've enjoyed about your work. Now, Tim has produced two UAP Con events, Con for Consciousness, really making the link between this phenomena and the rise of consciousness. And that's why I've enjoyed both of your conferences so much because, look, the show is the awakening world. So what matters isn't trying to figure out to create a new dogma around all of
Mhm.
it, but to recognize that it is high strangeness and each person's having their own unique experience to raise their consciousness. Um, I did one of the very last, if not the last interview with Timothy Leary before he died. It
Wow.
was when I was working on a show called Strange Universe. And he was pretty far gone. It took him 3 hours just to get ready to sit
Mhm.
down with, that was back in the days when we'd come in with all the camera crew and stuff.
Right.
And, but he had a fascinating theory, Tim. His theory was that our exposure to radiation would trigger within the human genetic system a rise in consciousness that
Mm.
once we had created radiation, our consciousness would have to catch up with our
Mm.
technology. And
Mm.
exposure to radiation would trigger within the human species a very fast awakening, which was
Mm.
a fascinating and interesting and I thought rather optimistic view of things. And in a way, that's what you're doing. You're through your UAP cons and through very thorough research at UAPedia, you're providing us with a very grounded look at a wide variety of experiences, all centered in how is this impacting and raising our consciousness.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's exactly what our mission is, to provide an on-ramp for people through a trusted knowledge base to expand their awareness and their perceptions about reality and ultimately raise their consciousness. So the UApedia website is that repository for people who are on-ramping to this to be able to have a trusted source. UAPcon, the intersection of the phenomenon and consciousness, is there to help people understand how the phenomenon can raise their consciousness through an expanded awareness perception. So what I mean by that is look, there's a lot of entry points to high consciousness. UFO is trendy, UAP is trendy. It's certainly fascinating, and that's why we're making mountains out of mashed potatoes over there, right?
Yeah.
But there are many entry points. Someone can go to a psychic or a medium, and that psychic or medium knows things that they're grabbing from the field, and that can help someone expand their awareness and raise their consciousness. You could see a ghost, you could see a UFO, you could have a psychedelic experience. You could be a scientist working on quantum physics and realize, wow, a particle can be a wave and a particle at the same time. How could that be? So there's many entry points. You could have a spiritual experience. So what we want to do with UAPcon is bring those perspectives from experiencers, from scientists, from journalists, from researchers, documentarians, and bring that together and say, hey, what is this intersection? What have we learned? Why is this happening? What is the meaning behind all of this? So that when people start to expand their awareness, they have a sense of what's happening. It takes them out of isolation. It shows them that there's community around this and other people having these experiences. And, that's part of the work that we're doing. We're also developing a trivia game, which is a very whimsical way to help people learn about this topic, the phenomenon in UFOs. So we're about ready to have our Kickstarter on that. And that's really just our mission. We have the repository of information. We have the conference where we're talking out loud about things. We have the game. So there's a physical way to interact with this and learn. And, they're all related and all focused on exactly what you're doing here, Scott. And that's, raising and awakening people's consciousness.
Let's take a look real quickly at the UAPCon website. And it's exactly that. The actual URL is uapcon.com, uapcon.com. And they've now done two different versions, UAPCon 2, and just click Watch Now, and that'll take you to the one that they did on Sunday, which was amazing with Linda Bolton Howe, Danny Sheehan, Steve Bassett, Dr. Tara, Alan Steinfeld co-hosted, and of course, all of the people have been on our show multiple times. And then you can also go take a look at their original one that they did. And I guess if we go back here,
that's the past event up there. Yeah.
Go to past events.
Yeah. Over to the right. Yeah.
There we go. Click past event. And that's how you can go to the first one. And I tell you, I would really encourage people to listen to both. Both were really, really interesting. And both held my attention for the entire day. So these are wonderful gifts and wonderful offerings. And definitely send me the link to the game. I'll pre-order it myself because I think it'd be really, really fun.
I can kind of show you what it looks like here. I have I have a prototype. It kind of looks like a what do you call that? Like kind of like a filing cabinet with all the files inside. And then if you open up the box here, you're going to have individual questions, that look like this.
All right. So what's the first question you asked? And we'll see if I have.
This is a government, and it is a classified. So there's 3 levels of difficulty: classified, secret, and top secret. So this is a pretty easy one. Which government agency does Arrow report to? A, the Department of Defense. B, the CIA. C, the DIA.
Well, I would imagine the CIA.
It's actually the Department of Defense.
It's
so what would happen in the game is you didn't answer correctly. It would go to the person next to you, and they could steal your points. If you collect 100 points across categories, you yell out disclosure and you win the game. So that's kind of how it goes. It's really fun.
Yeah.
We have some prototypes that we work through, and we've all played the game many times, and it's very, very fun. So.
Oh, that's great. Next time I come down to San Diego, let's organize a group of us to play the game.
I would love to do that. And one thing you mentioned, Alan Steinfeld. What we've also done with Alan, he has been the host of New Realities and certainly a prominent figure in the conference circuit, Contact in the Desert and otherwise. And so he has an archive of audio recording interviews from going back, 15, 20 years. These are really just an archive, kind of like, tapes that you'd find in your attic almost. And what we've done is we've gone through and we've cleaned all those up, and we've created a Spotify channel for Alan.
Oh, that's great.
Called The Archives of Alan Steinfeld. So we have 50 interviews published on Spotify, but we have in total 600 that we're producing for Alan. So it's just, these are a time capsule of interviews with people like Jacques Vallée, Alan Hynek, Travis Walton, just a ton of really great interviews. So we're doing that as well.
Do you have the link for that handy?
If you go to Spotify and search for The Archives of Alan Steinfeld, it'll pop right up.
Okay, great. And we're going to do,
by the way, absolutely send you a link.
our next show with Alan is going to be on Wednesday, May 20th. We're going to do a show with Alan previewing a Making Contact edition, previewing Contact in the Desert. And Captain
Oh,
Ron will be our special guest. And so,
yeah, I love that. Yeah, we've been speaking with Ron about contact and how we can partner there as well. So it's been really fun.
do you have something fun planned?
I think we're going to do a trivia a night there with the game. Yep,
Oh, great.
that's
Well,
what
I'm
we've been
probably going to
talking
be
about
there,
doing.
so maybe I'll get a chance to play with.
Oh, great! We'd lovely to see you there always. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's go one more time to uh the UAPCon. And my question for you is you take a look at these amazing speakers that you had. This is, of course, we're looking at the very first one.
Yeah.
And if we go back, you'll be able to take a look at the one that just happened.
Hmm.
For you personally, looking at these different speakers, who blew your mind the most? Who made the biggest impression on you personally?
Oh boy, what a tough Sophie's choice here.
I know.
There's some really big names that were there. We had Linda Moulton Howe and Stephen Bassett, and of course Danny Sheehan were really, I mean, they're just masters of their domain. Working in this space for multiple decades, each one of them. There was one person who I was a big fan of that was on, and I thought that they had a really good session, and that is Darren King, known as Exo Academian. Darren was on a panel with Mike Clellan, who you mentioned that does the
Mhm.
research on owls. Darren King is a person who has a couple of podcasts. One is called Liminal Frames. The other one is called Point of Convergence. And he's a person who has influenced me a lot because he's had the ability to take disparate pieces of information and put them together to try to understand this phenomenon, such as synchronicities and meditative protocols and what it means when one person sees there's multiple witnesses the phenomenon, but people see different things. And so I think that Darren is a really fascinating listen. I'd recommend his podcast. But I'm a big fan of all the speakers. I arrange the speakers and put the panels together. So there's not a person on there I'm not a fan of. But I particularly have listened to hours and hours of Darren's podcasts, I should say. So I'm a big fan.
Great. Thank you. That's a good tip. My last question for you, how has your consciousness changed? Where were you when this started, and where are you today?
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. I went to Contact in the Desert 2 years ago. Well, three years ago this May. And I went there because I was in complete isolation. I didn't have anyone to talk to about this topic or anything. And I took a book with me from Art Bell. It's called The Quickening. And I brought it with me as an icebreaker so I could have the people that I ran into there sign the book as like a token. And going from that just a couple of years ago to actually having these people in the conference and working with them closely, as part of UAPcon is just it's really beyond my wildest dreams. And at the same time, my consciousness, I practice a meditative protocol through the Monroe Institute, which basically puts your consciousness and body in superposition, where your body's one place, your consciousness is another. And so through that, I've really been able to, gain an understanding, a calmness, and my aperture for my awareness has really expanded dramatically. So, this thing about like finding your purpose and being in alignment, has really come from those meditations. And all of this work that I've done with UAPedia and partnering with my co-founders and being able to manage and produce UAPcon has been super easy. It's just been something that has unfolded naturally as part of this alignment through the meditative practices that I do, and the way that I go through life. So it's been an amazing elevation and evolution for me over time.
I love that you shared that, Tim, because you're modeling what happens when we really follow the divine flow and when we are blessed to find our Dharma, when we're blessed to find what it is we're uniquely qualified to do, and we are willing to put in the energy, put in the work, put in what needs to be done, it does just flow. It really
Well,
is
mhm,
magical. It's absolutely magical. Um,
mhm.
I experience that very much now with how my shows come together. Like at the exact moment somebody cancels, the same day I get a call from somebody
Yeah.
else that actually is the person who really needs to be on that next show. Or,
Mhm,
or three different people that don't know each other will all suggest a date. And then I bring them all together
mhm.
and they all have this magical experience together. Or we all
Right.
discover some unique synchronicity that none of us knew was even there. It's really
Mhm.
kind of wonderful how more and more we're experiencing magic and miracles and synchronicity.
I couldn't agree more. You know, for me personally, when I've, started on this path, I felt like I was starting to live a really magical existence. And I think that that's a natural consequence of raising your consciousness.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Tim, thank you so much. I'm just going to go one more time to the main site. Everybody, if you haven't already, go to UAPedia.ai and definitely make sure that you join. And there's lots of ways you can do it. Just click the join button here on the right-hand side. Um, you don't have to pay anything, although, I sure hope people will be generous in supporting them. And look at all the different ways you can participate. You can help by creating reviews, writing articles, helping with marketing, doing what I'm doing right now, support media. Being part of the archive or being part of the research program. So there's a lot of different ways to play. It's just getting started. We're going to get it. Imagine if you had gotten on the ground floor of Wikipedia, whenever that started 15, 20 years ago. This is the ground floor of what we are all about, which is consciousness and connecting the dots to the remarkable things going on in our awakening world. Tim, thank you so much. You are a prince, and I'm so grateful to know you personally and to be watching with admiration and respect what you're creating.
absolutely my pleasure. And thank you so much for having me, Scott. It's a thrill to be on the show. So appreciate your support.
Great. Well, we'll have you on again, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Take care, buddy.